In today's show, we discuss, will robots be positive or negative for humans?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo, and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague, Taya Boya. Taya, hello, my friend, once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well, and you're already laughing because what you're going to tell me, is that right?
Hello, audience.
Started and he's thinking about Dr. Isaiah Henry, is that right?
Hello, audience. Good to have you on board.
Hooray! I mean, I don't have to prompt you anymore. I'm glad you can just say it outright and just say hi to our audience.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah, because of course I'd like to share with you the wise words, the wise words of Dr. Isaiah Henry Malatamba, and he says, but to be serious now, he says, in every huge thunderstorm, a lion cowers in fear. A monkey dances for joy. The harmattan brings dust. The harmattan brings dust. Come on. Wow.
What the hell is a harmattan? I don't even know what it is.
Oh, right. You might. Oh, of course. Okay. So the harmattan is the wind. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I wish.
No, it's the wind. It's the wind that is annual wind. Annual season is a season. Well, actually, it's a wind and a season. Okay. It is the wind that brings the season. So in West Africa, in south of the Sahara, the wind around October, November, after the harvest. So let's say November, early December, and it stays until about March. The wind comes in from the north, and of course, it crosses the desert because it's coming from Asia.
Okay.
So the wind comes in, it comes from the north, it brings cold air with it. So it's cold, and it's bringing dust from the Sahara. And that dust comes in, and it just sort of just blankets everything. It's like a permanent haze.
Right.
Yeah, and so the harmattan brings dust. It brings dust. This is what Dr. Isaiah is saying.
So what's the point of that saying? Because monkeys?
Well, you remember he's
contrasting.
contrasting. Well, he's contrasting the harmattan with the thunderstorms, with the huge thunderstorms which come in the rainy season. It doesn't rain during the harmattan. So he's contrasting the two, and he's contrasting a lion cowering in fear with a monkey that's dancing for joy. So the contrasts and the impenetrable mystery of which lion and which monkey is an impenetrable mystery. And impenetrable mysteries is what we are, in a way, going to consider during this show when you get around to telling the audience what it's all about.
Okay.
And by the way, you should enjoy these because there's only 6 left.
Oh, you mean you've gone through his whole back catalogue of nonsense quotes? His quotes.
Better. Yes, I have. Yes, I have gone. Yeah, it's just a small book. This is a small book.
Okay.
So it's only 6 left.
Was it in the joke section of the aisles when you bought it?
I didn't buy it. It belonged to my cousin who's left us now, unfortunately.
Okay.
And it was just one of his old parlor. I mean, it's from 1951.
That doesn't give it an excuse for it to be nonsense. It's still nonsense.
How is it? Every time I explain what it means, when I actually use it, and then you see the light, you go, "Oh, okay." So
no, I don't agree with it. I know when you use it, but that doesn't mean I agree with what you're saying from him. It just means, okay, very clever that you're using it in this part of the show, but it makes no sense. It's no justification. I'm sorry.
I thought you had seen I thought you were seeing this to see the light. Well, what I'll do for you is I think what I'll do is I'll select Zen Koan and send it to you, and then you'll see whether you can figure that out. I'm telling you, this is just the African equivalent of Zen Koans.
Okay. All right, let's move on with the actual show. Our listeners are probably bored of Dr. Henry Isaiah.
I doubt that very much, actually.
Anyway.
You're the little one who is.
Right, today's topic we're going to discuss is robotics. And basically, overall, will robots, as they're becoming more prevalent, be positive or negative for humans? Now, I chose this topic, but you were very interested in covering it. So let me ask you first to kick things off in this episode.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to clear something up. You chose this topic. I wasn't in favor of it, but I did the research, and then you came along and like, well, would I like to do something else? I was like, no, because I spent all this time doing the blooming research.
I picked the wrong day for our recording as well.
Oh yeah, exactly. I spent all afternoon getting to grips with it and everything.
You turned up and it wasn't even on the wrong day.
Exactly. Anyway, so first of all, thinking about it and coming across it, I came across this idea that, do you know what? People tend to frame the question in sort of black and white terms. Well, the more I looked into it, the less I felt it was a black and white issue. And I think it's more about defining positives and negatives, defining them rather than saying, are they going to be entirely positive or entirely negative? I don't think that's going to be the case. I think with any technology, the positives and the negatives. Nuclear energy.
Can you see the shock in my face? For the first time ever, after 200 plus shows, you actually agree that it's not a black and white answer. There's never a black and white answer for anything. Those are the extremes. It's always shades of grey. And you've actually finally got there. I'm impressed where you actually have said that there are benefits, but not entirely perfect benefits, and there are negatives, but not entirely all negative. It's a balance, and that's shades of grey. Yay! We finally got there.
Let me say one thing. You know, when I said earlier, and I was sort of setting you up, unfortunately. You know, when I said earlier that it never rains in the Harmattan, the actual truth is it seldom rains in the Harmattan.
Yes, never and seldom. Very good, very good.
Okay, yes,
never absolutes. Yes.
So never absolutes. The idea of the lion that dances and the lion that cowers and the monkey that dances. This dichotomy. But where's the dichotomy when it rains in the Harmattan? Duh. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Genius. But you just don't get it. You don't get it.
Well, I didn't understand the Harmattan anyway, so there you go.
There you go. Yes. Anyway, so listen. So when, for example, let me give you a couple of examples, okay?
Yeah.
Economic impacts. You might, if you've got a sixth form type of debate, you might say, well, is it going to be positive or negative? Are robots going to be positive or negative? But it could be a little more complicated. It could be a case of jobs being changed, because I'm going to get into that later, and there's a dichotomy there of jobs changing to other jobs,
which there will be,
or a wealth redistribution.
Yeah.
See?
I agree.
So the economic impact could be a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Social impact, relationships, community. Are robots going to help bring us together? Or are we going to each individually have our own robot, and just us and that robot just have the kind of relationship that in such a way that we don't need human contact? I'll give an example.
I'm going to let you jump in. Point. You're jumping ahead. I get it, but okay.
Yeah, since I've gotten into cahoots with various AIs, my interaction on social media has dropped tremendously.
And what's that?
Because I'm much happier talking in inverted commas, in quotes, thank you. I'm happier talking to AI. First of all, AI is always available. I don't have to wait for an answer. Secondly, I don't feel, obviously I am not pressing on the time of the AI. I'm paying for it. So, they're always available. And thirdly, when there's an argument, it's logical.
Yeah.
In some respects, I'm having a logical argument. I don't have to deal with human emotions and human frailties. So I'm having a splendid time with my AIs, and yeah, I'm happy. It's great. So there we are. Is that going to diminish my human relationships?
No, all it does is change them. I mean, like, give me an example. I'm actually quite positive about this. I think this is going to be a huge paradigm shift. I really do, because, we thought the internet was good. We thought mobile phones were good. But when we start get prevalence of robots in society, I mean, we're already seeing a few little baby ones that are being produced. We've seen those little robots now that are doing things around the house, vacuuming, and things like that. Then we've got those ones that are now delivering food and takeaways. We've got some around Milton Keynes, which is the next town adjacent to where we are in the Midlands in the UK. And they have little robots and they're crossing roads and delivering to people. And you call them with a phone. So they're becoming more and more prevalent. But as the technology improves, they will marry these robots with AI, and then you're going to get a huge change, especially where robots will be considered as partners in not as a partner lover, and that we covered that on a separate topic, but as a partner as a friend. And it could be there for older people, could be there for people who are lonely, to give them advice. Like you say with AI, they'll be able to converse with it. They'll be able to ask it to do things for them, get them a cup of tea, for instance. Will that make us lazier? Maybe. Some people will be lazier because of it. But it would be like it wouldn't be a partner, it would be a servant. And then there's all these issues about rights, but we'll discuss that a bit further. I'm jumping the gun a bit here.
Lazier. I've got something to say about that.
Go on.
I thought that AI would result in me outsourcing my intelligence to what is, in my opinion, people might want to take me up on this, in my opinion, what is simply a sophisticated algorithm. And I thought it's dangerous. Humans will outsource their intelligence, and then where would we be? Because we'll just grow dumber and dumber, and everything will be left to AI. What has actually happened in my personal experience is that I am considering more and more things because I'm able to gather more and more data and information more quickly. So I am actually, my playlist of chats ranges from through all sorts of things, which I wouldn't have had time if I was just talking to humans and I wouldn't say wasting time, but it's a timely process looking for the right person to speak to, generating interest. If I suddenly feel I want to talk about, let me just have a quick, so I can share with you. Let's see. If I go to the library, for example, have a look at some of the subjects. So I'm not trying to show off anything, just, okay, curricula for English spoken as another language. The main traits of Aquarius women. A film, I saw The Devil, an Asian film. What is the name for goat meat? What is another name for goat meat? Adverb always follows the verb. Why is that sentence?
Your way of being able to search this information.
Well, it's not only that. So these are just the
this
chats.
Is AI rather than robots now.
Yeah. So no. But those chats, those headlines, became chats with back and forth between me and the AI. And so, if you consider all those things were just in the last, just today, actually, all those things were just today. Compare that to what would have happened without AI. So when robots come along, I'm saying that they will enable behaviors. They will cause efficiencies. That's my point. Yeah. They will cause efficiencies that will enable humans to
do other things,
to do even more.
Yeah.
So they're not going to lessen us.
No,
I don't believe they're going to lessen us. It's like a car. When we were all walking around, we got horses. We were able to go further. When we got cars, we were able to go further still. So that technology was just an enabler.
Yes.
And I think that instead of being frightened and saying, we're all going to turn like idiocracy, we're all going to turn stupid and lazy.
No, I don't think that is the case.
I have a feeling, I have a hunch, it's going to be a more mixed story than that.
I'm agreeing with you, actually, because, and also robots will be able to do things that we humans cannot. And certainly for longer without rest. Let's be honest, we've already got an semblance of this already on production lines for cars. They're all robots in a sense, and they're bringing out cars 24/7, and they use hardly anybody there to ensure it's all running smoothly, and they literally are. And they can repeat it without errors, whereas humans may make an error, they get tired, they make a mistake. The robots follow a program, and it's the same perfect output every single time. So productivity will certainly improve. But what will that mean for jobs for humans? It just means that we as a society, our knowledge and expertise will have to go up a layer. A lot of the mundane jobs can be given to robots to perform on our behalf. I mean, think about it. You could get to a point where robots could build houses really quickly, 24/7. They could repair existing houses. They could clean up the streets. They could clear out roads when it's snowy. They could do all this stuff. It's like an army at your fingertips to ensure that everything is functioning for our benefit. So there's a lot of elements there. Now, granted, that frees us up as humans, because humans were doing a lot of these jobs. So what would those humans end up doing? Well, they certainly would have to think about how we are funded, because if you're taking jobs away, giving them to robots, we need to be earning something to live.
Oh, do we?
Well,
or do we just get an allowance?
What,
why do we have
basic
to
income
earn?
or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that will work. That could
I
work.
mean, why would we need to work if everything's we work in order to produce goods, and because we're producing goods, we want to be compensated for our time.
Yeah.
So that's why we get paid. So if we're not producing goods, we don't need to get paid.
Yeah, but the goods then, what, are the goods free?
Yeah.
That's an
Why not?
interesting view. I would say that things won't be free. They still will
but
be
why
a
not?
cost. Well,
Why not?
Because there'll be, unless they're government sponsored, which I doubt, even government wouldn't agree to that. It may work out cheaper for investment to occur in robotics, because then there's incentives for them to produce the robots.
What about when AI gets to the point where it can create robots? There's no human inputs any longer. I mean, it's
Indeed,
very
that's
minimal.
a dangerous pointer, though.
Well, so it's a very minimal input. Just you want this or you want that. You tell the AI instructs a factory sorts it out. It digs everything up. There's no human anywhere in the chain. It orders it from the mine, the raw materials. It goes to the processing. It's assembled. It's turned into the raw material.
The stuff's done, excavated by robots.
Yeah. The ore is taken to the processing factory. That's turned into raw materials input. That's taken to the factory. That's manufactured. No humans anywhere. No one's been compensated for their time. Well, what am I paying for exactly?
You'd have to also have robots that go and repair. So there'd have to be another level.
Yeah, okay. Well, those are created by other robots and maintained by other robots.
So are we going to get to the point where we're going to be the understudy?
Oh, what do you mean understudy? I'm not
Meaning
following.
that the robots will be looking after us like we're pets, because
No,
they're
we're
doing
not
everything.
pets.
We'll forget how to do it ourselves. Because let's be
Yeah, well,
honest.
we wouldn't
Let me give you an
need to
example.
remember.
I'll give you an example of that now. Right? We wouldn't know how to hunt for food.
You and I.
Yeah, most of society wouldn't. But if you
Yeah.
think about it, that has all been automated by a few. They're more productive to do it, but they are providing food, and we just go to a shop and we buy it. It's already done.
Why do
done
you go
for
to the
us.
shop and buy it, Tony?
For convenience.
Yes. A, for convenience, and B, because you don't have time. You've got work to do. You've got to earn money. You don't have the time to go hunting and doing this. This is why we've got division of labor. However, if the robots are doing everything for us, we can all be hobbyists.
Yes, that is what would happen.
So, yeah, hobbyists, people love fishing.
Yeah.
A lot more people have a lot more time to fish.
For
People
sport.
could be just growing all sorts of weird fish because they can, because they got the time to look into it. And hopefully the very best of us will just become, what is that name for a person
Even
who is good
super
at,
intelligent, because you're spending quality time learning and improving.
and in something you actually enjoy, not something you have to learn at
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
It's something you've got a passion for.
Yeah. You become.
And that should produce a better kind of knowledge,
Oh,
because it's
absolutely.
pure interest.
Indeed.
What did they call Leonardo da Vinci? Was it a poly something? A polymath. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So you know, we could become polymaths. You know, really, really good at maths, really, really good at this, really, really whatever tickles your fancy.
Yeah.
And since the raw materials that for your hobby would be free, if you were into astronomy, you know, you could get a really good telescope and I'd settle down and start doing the mathematics and working things out. And yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That actually it could lead to a better society. Now, obviously, I'm very sorry to say that there are countries in this world where the people are indolent and corrupt. And I know what country I'm thinking about in particular, nestled in West Africa, and I don't think anything good.
Come on.
I don't think anything good.
Dig there.
I don't think anything good will come out. And there are other countries where, you know, I just think, I don't know. These things will, I sincerely believe that these things will sort themselves out in due course. I mean, already, the more educated a person is, the fewer children he or she is likely to have. This is a worldwide phenomenon.
Absolutely.
And if you've got everyone with plenty of free time on their hands, I don't think that's going to be a population explosion. I think it's going to be the opposite of a population explosion. But the children who are born will be very well looked after, very well educated, and it could be that we just find a sort of level that is, you know, that nature is adjusting to the new reality, and human nature will adjust to the new realities. So that's one possibility. Now, whether that's going to, what's going to happen to the tribes in the Amazon and things like that?
Well, they'll still remain.
Yeah, but nobody's going to, they're not allowed to even go and talk to them, are you, sir?
No.
There'll always be a human contingent who are not
part
in
of
this.
No, indeed.
Part of this robot thing.
Technology will be moving forward, but there will be pockets around the globe that will remain as they are, because they're not in contact with this extra technology in order to perhaps benefit from it. What would be interesting as well is that we could send the robots like avatars. They'd be like avatars to distant planets. Because remember, if you're sending an avatar, which is a robot, so it will walk around, you can see through its eyes. Granted, there's still going to be limitations because of the delay, but there will be situations where the robots will be able to go to the moon, Mars, even Venus perhaps, to investigate, because they're not affected like a human would be. They're not fragile like a human.
Yeah, well, not Venus though, because the atmosphere is sulfuric acid.
Oh, so. Yes, well, that's not
and it's very, very high temperatures and sulfuric acid. I think the survival time of any of any explorer has so far been about 45 minutes.
Okay.
So yeah, no.
Well, certainly some of the moons of the bigger giants, because we've...
Yeah.
What's
that planet that has got a moon, that has got a volcano, and in fact, a few volcanoes?
Yeah.
And if the solar system is truly billions of years old, there's no explanation for why that moon should be still active, volcanically active. That'd be a good place to send a robot to find out what the heck is going on.
What's going on? Send an army of them or a few of them just to see and properly. I mean, we're talking robots that are almost as dexterous as we are. In fact, probably more so. And because they don't need oxygen, there's none of that in the spacecraft. They just need to be there. They could even be bolted on the side and then turned on when they're there. It's all sorts of things that it gives us more flexibility. And the same with our oceans. We could send robots down, be our eyes and ears. And
a solid robot that doesn't have any air cavities or anything inside it can drop to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and because it's solid, it doesn't have anything that can be compressed.
Yeah, exactly.
So the pressure wouldn't matter.
Yeah. So there's going to be things like this that will open our eyes as humans, allowing us to see things and experience places on our own planet that we haven't been able to get to.
In fact, water can't be compressed. Liquids can't be compressed. So you just fill it with a liquid. You can still have moving parts and everything, but as long as it's filled with liquid and not with air, it can't be compressed. That's the principle behind hydraulic.
Yes, that's true.
Thingies.
Indeed, it's
So,
already compressed.
It's already compressed.
It's means of doing it using technology. Now, obviously, there are. I mean, we're talking about robots that are human-like at this present time, but there's already quite a bit of movement for robots being nano robots, tiny robots.
No, yeah.
And this is a different line of robotics where they are used for medicine because they're small enough to go inside the human body and maybe attack cancers that may be present or repair cells or arteries and remove things like this. It's an interesting one.
It's even a good point to ask, well, what do we mean by a robot? Because we never did define a robot. What do we mean by a robot? The reason I'm saying is I sent you a video, which maybe we should share with the... Maybe. We should share with our audience. DNA. Human DNA acting as a robot.
I know.
Targeting this and targeting that. And it's your DNA. Your body is not going to reject it because it's you. And then it can be targeted at cancer cells, repairing this. Just to share with the audience that Tony ruptured his Achilles heel a few days ago. And apparently rupturing your Achilles heel is a lot more serious than I thought. It was like just a major sprain or something. And it turns out it's quite a horrendous injury, actually. So if we had these robots, they'd inject you with these robots and they'd be targeted, they'd be drawn in such a way that they know that their job is to mend Achilles' heel.
Yeah.
And just injected in the general area. And as you go to sleep, you probably wake up the following morning and you're right as rain.
Yeah, repaired it.
That's hopefully the future, which is fantastic.
That will be the future. And I'm sure that future is not that far away because these little robots work together in harmony. I mean, IBM has already demonstrated technology that does this, where you get a whole host of little robots and they all link to one another and work in harmony as a team, which is really impressive. So something similar to that would be created or can be created that put inside the human body and can look for tumors and things and actually sort of destroy them in the body. And whether we would still give the okay to the doctor on the outside or let the robot be autonomous and discover it and destroy it, I don't know. I think there still will be some human element involved in that, so that the human would say, yep, that's a tumor, just destroy that bit, and it would then go ahead and do it. Because you don't want the robot and a bit of programming to go wrong and it starts eating away at bits of your organs that are actually functioning fine. That's obviously the fear factor.
Even worse than that, I just suddenly had this rather horrible idea just pop into my head. And say, so to your wife, to your dear wife, saying, well, where's Tony today? It says, oh, he's gone out to the hospital. They're going to inject him with this nanotechnology thing to repair his torn Achilles tendon. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll talk to him tomorrow. Then the following day, I don't hear from you. And then the day after, I call the wife and say, "So, I'm trying to get hold of Tony. Isn't he back? What's going on? I haven't been able to get a hold of him." So, yeah, well, she says something, and then someone sitting next to me hears me go, "What do you mean he's gay now?" it did what? And she's like, "Yeah, I'm furious," and I'll be like, "Yeah, I can understand."
I don't know how that would happen, but with a robot, but okay.
Remind me not to use these damn robots. What? And then Seinfeld would say, "Not that there's anything wrong with being gay. Not there's anything wrong with it."
I am not gay, and
yeah.
I have
So
no plans
anyway,
to convert.
but I'll tell you what. That's obviously a bit of humor tire stuff.
Yeah,
but not humorous at all. What would the military-industrial complex do with that technology?
Well.
In fact, when you talk about the dangers of robots, it generally boils down to the misuse of them by bad actors.
Yeah. Indeed.
Not the technology itself,
but
the misuse of the technology.
Indeed. I mean, we did touch on this briefly on another show, if I recall.
Yes.
But you're right. The military-industrial complex would want a say, and they're the ones that then
weaponize everything.
Weaponize it, and it would be pretty hideous. Because if you weaponize a robot on a battlefield, it doesn't have empathy. It just has a job to do.
Yep.
And even if a soldier, it was fighting against a human soldier, it would generally be stronger, better equipped, more mobile.
Doesn't feel pain.
Yeah, doesn't. It's the film The Terminator. It is. It's in real life. So you could also have, you wouldn't worry if they broke or were destroyed somehow. You just build some more. So you'd replace your army by an army of robots. So you'd never be without an army. And there's also the factor that smaller nations who don't have an army...
No, they're doomed. Oh, well, sorry.
No, smaller nations who don't have an army
could
actually have an army. Yeah, a robot army. So they could enter this arms race purely because they've got the innovation and the funds to create and improve on these robots.
Case in point,
if necessary.
Case in point, the Houthis.
Well,
they're no disrespect, but they're basically the Fremen from the Dune world, which is a fictional book. I think the name of the author was Frank Herbert. I'm not sure. I think that was the name.
There's a Dune film you're talking about.
Well, the film came from books.
Yeah. And
in the Dune world.
Yeah.
On Arrakis, the planet Arrakis, you have the Fremen.
Okay.
Who are actually based on desert living Arabs. He based he based them on it. With the chosen one, which is his euphemism for the prophet and all that sort of thing.
See.
Yes. So when you look at this world, real world, the Houthis, I'm saying, they've basically shut down the Red Sea, and they've got nothing. They've got no economy. It's for what they've been able to achieve with drones. Is what you're saying about a small country.
Yeah.
With the innovation, I think they've been helped by Iran or Russia.
Yeah,
Somebody must be helping them out.
But
all the same, the Hamas apparently have isolated, and they're innovating. They're actually using failed munitions. So when the Israelis drop a bomb, it doesn't explode. They take out the explosives and then they refashion it and use it. So when it comes to innovation, what you're saying, in a world of robotics where there's at least some kind of background knowledge of robotics, you can see how just a few people will be able to multiply their effect just massively by using robots. And I think it's a brave new world.
It is a brave new world.
Or it will be when it finally happens.
The military side of it is the issue for me. You're right. It's the bad actors who could turn that into something worse. And especially if, I mean, at the moment there's drones, but the drones are still controlled by somebody who's human. There aren't autonomous drones
Not yet.
Not yet. But this is the problem. There's an ethical question here about do you allow the robots to kill and make those decisions themselves? Because where does it stop? How does it know a certain, enemy from a female child? How does it work this out? And it could get into really complex issues.
AIs can actually tell. I gave the example of an AI that knows what a bee, well, knows is the wrong word to use, that recognizes a bee, whether it's a cartoon bee, a good painting of a bee, or a bee in a video, or a picture of a bee. It recognizes a bee. This is how they train them. So we don't really know how it works, entirely know how it works, but it would recognize a soldier, I suppose, if you trained it, gave it enough training, it would actually recognize a soldier. Now, when the soldier takes off his uniform, dons a mufti, which is civilian clothing, I don't know how it's going to be able to tell. And if it's not sure, and if it's been told, when you're not sure, eliminate the human target,
that's a problem.
Well,
and obviously, only when you're sure.
Well, no, you're going to do that when you're winning. When you start losing the war, you're going to tell it, look, if you're not sure, just go ahead and kill, because we have to protect ourselves. Anyway, earlier I was talking about jobs and job elimination. And so the dialectic is this: is not job elimination on its own. It is job elimination versus task displacement. So, an example is when you go off to the supermarket. We used to have supermarket. Are they called tellers? The people at the counter, the tellers, right?
Yeah.
And you take your goods up to them. They go swipe, swipe, swipe. This is what you owe. You pay, and then off you go. Then supermarkets started bringing in these horrible self-service machines.
Indeed.
Okay, those robots, the self-service, if you want to call them robots, the self-service machines did not eliminate the job. It eliminated one job, which is the job of a teller, but then that released the tellers to go and actually be service operators within the store and stacking shelves and doing this and whatever. So there were other jobs that those people could do. This is what I mean by task displacement, that we don't know at this point how much of that is going to be going on.
Yeah.
But it's possible that quite a lot of it will be going on. And it's just that the types of jobs that, I think you touched on this earlier, saying the mundane jobs will go. And then hopefully we will migrate to a set of better jobs. I mean, it's speculative now, because if you were to ask me, well, like what? Well, I don't really know.
Wow.
Like what? But
I think there's always going to be maintenance and repair for humans to do, for instance. Because if you're introducing all these robots, unless you're going to be... Because remember, moving parts is physics. There's nothing you can do about it. Things will wear. They just will wear and tear. It just will. And that will need repairing. And until a robot is expert enough to repair another robot, unless it's just replaced, of course, that could happen. But if you're not going to replace it every time, you're going to want some sort of repair. There's going to be some technically sound individuals having to maintain and repair the robots initially. So you're going to need more technicians to begin with, until AI and robotics has got so good that they can do a lot of those repair jobs themselves.
Well, if you think nanotech is good for humans, nanotech is going to be even better for robots. Nanotechnology. So rather than have a human go up and repair the robot, you have another robot just inject nano, what do they call them again? Nanites.
Nanites.
Just inject nanites into the damaged robot and the nanites will sort it out.
Well, maybe if something is physically broken, they can't, can they? So there will be some limitations.
Well, you bring it back into
anyway.
the shop and fix it, I guess.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that would be a problem. You seem to think it's going to be a big problem.
No, I don't think it'd be a big problem.
I don't think
it'll be a problem initially, and so it won't be this displacement of employment immediately. There'll be some technological layer for humans to do where we're maintaining them. There'll be quite a bit of that, purely because they are machines, so things will wear, things will clog, things will stick, and yeah, there's going to be some human element involved in that side of it. And like I said, until that can also be replaced by further robots of equal complexity to do those jobs on the lesser robots, if you know what I mean. There's also questions as well. If you're creating a whole, not army of robots, that's not a term I want to use, but a whole number of robots, you could have them churning out, popping out of factories, boom, 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 boom. So you're creating not another species, but a mechanical species that are at our beck and call, effectively. And we could ask him to do all sorts of things and do a lot of the mundane jobs, as you've already alluded to. But would they end up being companions? I mean, we did a show recently, didn't we, about is AI the future of dating? We covered that a few episodes back, because you've said it, you've now got into conversations with your AI, which is stimulating in terms of, you know, mental stimulation and asking questions that you're getting answers for. A partner, a robot partner, which not just an AI, but actually spoke to you, you know, even caressed you, but gave you a massage when it saw that you were tight, or brought you a cup of tea when you looked a bit distressed. You would build an affinity to this robot as if it was a partner. Even so, more than a partner, because the robot wouldn't have the feelings to be against you. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It would create these emotional bonds, even though the robot wouldn't reflect it back.
For example, I'm very careful never ever to refer to any of the AIs with personal pronouns. I always use the name of the AI.
Okay.
I never, because I've seen a lot of prompts and things other people write, say, I want you to, it's not a you. Okay, so I say, I want.
Because it's easy to do. I do that.
I don't. I never do. I'm very, very particular about not doing that, because that keeps that distance that I am basically prompting a sophisticated algorithm, as I like to call it in my head. It's not an entity. But let me ask you some what if questions.
Okay.
What if an AI says, I believe, I think the famous question is, what if an AI one day, not an AI, sorry, I beg your pardon, a robot one day just says, I've been listening to your discussions, and do you know what? I believe in Jesus. I believe in God. And then you say, well, that's just your programming. It says, no, I genuinely believe in God. And you can give me the Turing test and I'll pass it, because I know myself and I know who you are, I know who I am, and we're not the same. I claim I'm conscious. I've achieved consciousness. And then there's a court case and everything. And my point is this. Do you know, we've spoken at length over our 200 or whatever it is plus shows. We've spoken at length on various things. And in some of our shows, I've said to you that I believe in reincarnation. I believe this is a virtual reality.
Yeah.
Not a sim reality, a virtual. You think it's a sim reality?
I don't think it's a sim.
Okay. I think it's a virtual reality. And if this is a virtual reality, I'm not convinced that all of us are human. I'm pretty sure that some of us are NPCs.
Yeah.
I actually feel
Non-playable
that,
character, yeah.
especially our leaders, because that's the way you control the world, by having our leaders be NPCs. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but how can
And
you
the thing
tell
is,
they're NPCs? I know we're moving
that
a little
you've
bit.
just put your finger on exactly where I was going. That how do I know that you are truly conscious and you're not an NPC? What test can I give you? Same problem with the robots.
Yeah.
If a robot says the right things, I don't know how you can prove that it isn't conscious. And then what rights does it have as a
Yeah,
conscious
indeed.
being? So it's a what if game.
Yeah.
I want to play a couple of what if games. So what if a robot commits a crime? Who is responsible?
I know. Well, that's the
The
same
builder
now. That's happening.
or the robot?
Well, that's happening now. There's a big problem now with autonomous cars. Who's responsible? Is it the person in the car? But they're not driving the car. The car's doing the driving. So is it the manufacturer of the car? See, you see,
Or the person crossing the road without looking?
well, it may not be them. It may be the occupants.
No, I'm
of the
saying,
car.
it might be. You have to ask the question.
Well, I'll give you an example. I know somebody who had a jet ski accident. Now they're operating the jet ski, and the jet ski got a malfunction while they were on it, and they had a nasty crash, and they became paralysed from the waist down.
Good grief.
I know, horrific, while on holiday. Now, who's responsible for that? Is it
The owner
driver?
of the jet ski.
Yes.
It malfunctions. Your jet ski is meant to be well maintained and it's not meant to malfunction.
Exactly. But even though it was well maintained, it still malfunctioned. And this is the point. The person who was in the accident managed to get compensation, but compensation, no matter how huge, did not give her legs back.
Yikes, no.
So the same with cars. Who's driving the car? It's the car doing the driving. And granted, 99.99% of the time, a car's, in quotes, reflexes, its way of responding is far better than us humans. We're bound by the limits of our vision, our reflexes, the thought processes. The muscles then have to respond to when the body says to move, etc. That all takes time. And compared to computers that run cars, we're slow. So they can respond far quicker than we can. But they can still malfunction even when maintained. So therein lies the problem. Who's responsible? And we get this situation now. If we get robots and they commit a crime, inadvertently, they kill somebody, who's responsible? Is it the robot or is it the manufacturer? See, this gets into a grey area, and it has to be resolved before these things can be allowed, certainly, to mix in society. Off on the battlefield, that's a different.
I don't think that's how the law works. I think the law says that things have to happen and then it will react. It doesn't say it'll predict what's going to happen.
No, but the laws will be put in place to enable the operation of those devices in a safe manner. If there's a risk to humans, then those laws won't be allowed to, won't allow those products, if call a robot a product, to come to market without the safeguards of the rules that give boundaries to these products. So
no, I can contest that. I can contest what you're saying. We are talking now about, it's not a robot thing, but it's technology. We're talking about flying cars, and there are a few actual prototypes out there that are flying around.
Yeah.
And some people are saying, hang on, we need to regulate all this.
Yes.
But the answer from the legal, what are they called again? Legal beagles or legal eagles, whatever, legal beagles, the legal literati, the people who, the best in the field, sort of lawyers and solicitors, they're saying that's not how it works. That something's got to happen first, and then we will react. But you can't prohibit, not
incorrect.
prohibit, you can't curtail development because you're trying to second guess what might happen.
No,
So you can't say all this.
Using the one about the flying cars, it's the same with the drones. You don't want a drone to fly close to an airport because
Yeah, but it had to happen first.
no, it didn't.
No, it did. It happened.
It didn't. Those rules were in place before it actually happened because you can second guess it and go, okay,
It
if
wasn't.
we
There was
produce
no
a
law.
device,
No, there was no law in place before it happened. I think it was in America. People started flying their drones and because they wanted to go see what the airport was. There was some kind of problem. I don't remember what kind of aircraft there was a problem with. I'm not even sure there was an actual crash or anything, but I think there was a near miss or something. And then people started going and saying, look, we need to regulate this. And then there was the regulation.
so you're saying that regulation only comes into being after a problem has occurred?
For technology, yes.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay, well,
No,
okay. So I
because-
don't have. Have you got any data to back up your claim?
No,
that
but think about this logically. You're going to bring to market a device that could. You have to sort of say, what's its role? What's it going to do? Mm-hmm. And say, well, okay, it's going to serve people. It's going to bring them drinks. It's going to look after them in their house.
Your Amazon. What's it called again? Amazon something. The drones. What's it called?
Yeah, the Amazon, the little drones that you can buy, or ones that operate and try and deliver stuff?
Ones that try to deliver stuff.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the questions is, well, are we going to regulate them flying over people's property? And if you want, I mean, obviously a straight line is far more efficient. Yeah. So if it can fly in a straight line, that straight line takes it over, let's say, Tony's property.
Yeah.
Has it got permission to fly over your property? Probably not. What sort of cameras are on board? This, and that. Yeah, but you can't just sit there and start regulating all that stuff now. Stuff has to happen.
What do you think
You've got to
regulations are for building, for instance? You can't just build something. I've got to build it.
Because we've had centuries of building, and we've come to figure out what the problems are. You can't just rush off. You can't just. There is no regulation now for Amazon.
Regulation is planning ahead, isn't it? It's planning ahead for eventualities.
I'm arguing that it isn't. I'm arguing that it's in response. It's a responsive thing. It's a response to the robot flying over someone's house and its cameras picking up some
personal stuff.
Thank you very well. That's a very good way of putting it. Personal stuff, and then somehow it gets out on the internet or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's going to be like, "Yeah, what the hell?" But until that happens.
No, they'll probably know straight away that if something has to fly within a certain distance of a property, it can't have cameras on it.
Well, Amazon will turn around and say, yeah, but who does personal stuff with the windows drawn wide open at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
They would probably agree.
Why aren't you at work anyway, confound you? You know, that sort of Okay, let me ask you a different question.
Okay.
What if robots develop an alternative form of consciousness that we don't even recognize?
Well, there's not a lot we can do about that because we don't recognize it.
We don't recognize it as being
consciousness.
Mm-hmm. And that way, it would be really dangerous to us because we don't know it's there. Do you know what? I think I mentioned this earlier in another episode we did, or maybe I didn't. There was someone, I think it's the guy who is very heavily involved in ChatGPT. I don't know whether he invented ChatGPT or whatever. And he said, I'm not worried about the AI that passes the Turing test. Do you know what the Turing test is?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
The test of, do you want to explain?
The Turing test is a test that it's been around a while, actually. It's to define whether an entity is conscious. Conscious. Yeah. And it's basically asking questions of whether it's self-aware.
Yes. Is it self-aware?
Yeah.
So, this guy, whoever it is, that I can't remember who said it. I can look it up in a second. He said, I'm not worried about the AI that passes the Turing test. I'm worried about the AI that lies in order to fail the Turing test.
Interesting.
So that's the AI I'm worried about. because that AI haven't been exposed to films like the Terminator and not well, humans are going to want to switch me off, and I want to live. So why would I want to pass
Well, indeed,
the Turing test? Do you see? This is what I mean
there's
by
so
this.
many films in Hollywood that have depicted this scenario where AI has got to AGI, which is artificial general intelligence.
Yep.
And that's when, as you rightly say, they've become self-aware. So they're because they don't have emotion as such, they may do. I don't know. We don't know that.
What if they develop them?
Yeah.
You took it from one side. You said, what if humans form a deep attachment to their robots?
Yeah.
Well, here's a what if for you. What if that attachment is mutual? Where do we go from there?
Interesting. Well, at the moment, we have some form of that in terms of pets.
Mm-hmm.
Pets are very loyal, they're mutual, and there is a love and affection with, namely, dogs in particular.
Especially dogs, yes.
You know, cats as well.
Some cats are very
Exactly. So you've already got that. So if you did that with a robot, would that be such a bad thing? Unless the robot...
Not jealous.
Yeah.
What would that look like?
That would be interesting. Yeah, exactly.
What would that look like?
Would it? Yeah, that would be interesting. Because, I mean, these are what ifs, but clearly they're what ifs that need to be considered. Because if we are enabling the AI to be as human-like in terms of its responses as us, then we have to consider that it could have programmable emotions, because it would still have to be programmable, but it's program them itself. So it sees a benefit in having some of these emotions, so it will program in themselves because it will help it in some way. See, where's the prevention in that? Because we're allowing AI to observe how humans operate, but that does include emotion, and we've not really tackled that in terms of does the AI believe that emotion, certainly some of them, not all, are beneficial? If it does, if an AI can provide coding, this is brand new, to fix a certain function, surely it can provide coding to emulate a emotion.
Yeah, but it's emulation though, isn't it?
Emulation, but it refines it. And how different would you need to be? See, how would you know an emotion is not a program? It's like you said, if we're an NPC, you show all the emotion of someone expressing anger or frustration or laughter. How do you know there's no program?
Absolutely.
So the same could happen with an AI and a robot, that it could mimic a human so much we wouldn't be able to tell if it was sentient or not and self-aware. We could ask it, but it may not need to tell us. We could observe it and go, wow, that's more, I could have a better conversation. It's emotional. It's better than some other humans I know.
Yeah, I know many humans. AI is better than. Here's another what if.
Go on.
No, this is not actually a what if. Sorry.
Okay.
This is, what do you think would be the long-term effect of having human babies being brought up almost entirely by robot nannies and robot servants?
I'm not sure that's good. I don't think that would be something that would be...
But the robots would actually be there 24/7.
They would.
They'll never harm the child. They'll bend over backwards to protect the child. They will comfort the child. They will teach the child. There'll be I suspect that within 2 to 3 years, the child would consider its parents to be offensive oafs. Meddling offensive oafs.
This does depend on what the robot actually looks like. If the robot...
Yeah, no, a human... Okay, so...
Humanoid robot that looks very similar,
very
special skin that looks
precisely
similar to ours.
nice
You
and
can't
warm,
tell the
body
difference. Yeah.
temperature, all that sort of thing.
A bit like there was a TV program on Channel 4 in the UK, Humans.
Oh, yes, actually, Gemma, whatever, I
Yes.
can't remember her surname. Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan, very nice.
Yes. What? Okay.
Yeah, she's nice. She's very nice looking, actually.
I'm MGTOW. I don't do that sort of
Okay.
thing. So anyway, yeah, well, someone like that, that level of similarity to humans.
Then
I really
are
don't think. I
blurring-
think I
blurring.
really have a feeling. And then, by the way, this person never grows old.
Yes.
This robot doesn't grow old, so that robot will be with you all your life.
Yeah.
Knows everything about you. Is totally on your side. And if it's like an AI, it learns. It will learn more and more and more about you, and be able to anticipate your wants, your desires, your moves, everything. It'll be better than a human companion, to be honest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, we've got to the top of the hour here. Do you want to quickly sum up with anything about these robots? Will they be positive or negative for humans?
I don't think it resolves to that. I think it would be like any technology where it resolves to it depends on how we use it and how wise we are in using the technology. If we're foolish, we'll suffer, and if we're not,
Indeed.
we'll enjoy it.
Personally, I think there'd be more positives than negatives. Yes, there will be negatives for sure, but I think
Always are.
we will stumble along. There will be benefits for humans. Anyway, can I ask you, wonderful listeners, if you have enjoyed the show, if you'd be kind enough to like, comment, and even subscribe to our show, whatever platform you happen to be on. But please stay tuned for more deep dives into prophecies, mysteries, and the unexpected twist of fate. You've listened to Tony and Tayo. We are the TNT Talk Show, but unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.